Hey, welcome to my channel. If you've been with my channel before, seen my videos in the past, normally I would made a resolution, New Year's resolution actually, where every week, at least once a week, I would do a live stream via YouTube. Um, and so that's what this is. A lot of the cases, it's always going to be about any topic or any topic at that moment in time, or random stuff at that point, or like a conglomeration of topics meshed into one, basically, with my lives. I try not to make them as long as possible. Try to keep them as quick, make them short and quick and easy. But in any case, usually a lot of my videos, if you've seen as well too on my channels, as well as the content, it's just spur of the moment type of stuff. 98% of the times unscripted. There's maybe one time it was a little scripted a little bit, but that was more like bullet points to make me remind me of some stuff. And that's usually when it comes to tech stuff, basically, more than anything else. And at that aspect as well too, usually there's never any filtering, or there's filtering, but there's more of less editing more than anything else. Meaning that I don't really like slice out certain things, and especially with a live, it's live, so you can't. If you flub it, you flub it. So give me 1 second. I just realized I had a door open. You could probably go back and check and see, whatever, blah, whatever. In any case, today I'm going to talk about something which was really interesting, to the point where I was going to JFK last week. I think it was Wednesday night, arriving there Thursday, like pretty much like around midnight or just after midnight, around 1 o'clock or something like that. It was to Terminal 4, actually, ironically enough. And one of the things is I was there, tried doing a Lyft. Lyft says, like, all right, it's limited availability at 1 a.m. Past 1 a.m. It seems like they always have limited availability after a certain period of time, which means like they don't have many cars available after midnight or something like that, which is kind of odd. And I'm like, all right, that's a lost revenue opportunity, specifically from the airport aspect of things. I think it's from the airport, more than anything else, because I think they want more of their drivers in like more locales where they know that people will be leaving, and their availability for that at that point, which is pretty much bars, right? So more than anything else. But in any case, sometimes there are going to be some people coming in on late night flights into New York or wherever it may be, and in this case JFK. So I tried that, and it was like it said I would have to wait an hour to an hour and a half or something like that, close to 2 hours basically. And I'm like, I don't have time to wait for that. So I did an Uber. I called up an Uber, basically went to the Uber app, and what happened is it was really surprising, to the point where I basically got an Uber, pretty much got a driver. The driver was ready to basically, come by and pick me up. It said like, 5 minutes, he's going to come pick you up. And then here's where the thing that really caught me off guard. The guy messages me on the app. He says, this is the first one. He says basically, and I actually have a proof on this one too. This time I actually have proof. This one basically said, hey, are you going to Manhattan? I said, no, Long Island. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of odd that he's asking for, Well, first he says his first response was, actually, let me look at take a look at the screenshot since I screenshotted it. Library screenshots. Here we go. So he said, what's the address you're going to, basically? I mean, not the address, the pickup area, basically. And like, it was Terminal 8, pickup C. I'm sorry, it was Terminal 8, not the international, not Terminal 4. It was Terminal 8, the American Airlines terminal, basically. Terminal 8, what pickup area would be. And I said, Terminal 8, pickup C. Then his next question is, are you going to Manhattan? I said, no, I'm going to Long Island. He said, okay. And then 5 minutes later, he messages me, hey, now messages me on the app itself. Can you send me an address, please? I need to add it to my app. I'm like, huh? My app is not showing. I was like, when I was like, wait, doesn't Uber basically show you once you pick up once you pick up the passenger? I'm like, that's odd. I'm like, well, and I even says like, doesn't it pick up doesn't it show you once you pick up the passenger? I'm like, all right, you know what? Fine, I'll just give him the address. Gave him the address. He declined me immediately. I'm like, what the hell just happened there? He's like, he may decline me. I'm like, all right. And I don't think he was penalized for it too. That's the worst part of it. He was not penalized. So I'm like wondering, I was like, what should I do here? I have no idea what to do. So I like tried another one basically. This one messaged me, and unfortunately I didn't screen cap this one. And it took another 15 to 20 minutes for the next one to come by to pick another one up. I screen cap, like basically he messaged me again, like, hey, where are you going off to? I'm like, Long Island. 2 minutes later, he cancels my ride. I'm like, are you kidding me? What the hell just happened here? Third one finally does the exact same thing, basically. There's a third one, and I should have screen captured this one. Unfortunately, I was like an idiot for that. Screen capped it, didn't get screen capped, but like, person's like, hey, where are you going to? And I says like, aren't you basically going to get that information from the app once you pick me up? He's asking me for the address. I'm like, it's coming. You should come. You need to pick me up. That's the way the app works, doesn't it? Guy cancels me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then the fourth guy, finally, he basically accepts, I guess. He comes by, picks me up. He finds out I'm going to farther out in Long Island, basically. I'm going to Long Island. And this guy now, I find out later that he lives in Staten Island. So he asked me, his question was like, so how many Uber drivers canceled on you? I'm like, huh? He's like, how many Uber drivers have you canceled on you? I'm like, that's odd. I mean, I was going to say 3. He's like, sounds about right. I thought maybe more, maybe. I was like, wait, what do you mean? Why would you say that? And his thing was, he was like saying, he's like, yeah, some of them are doing their shift changes. Basically, it's like so late at night, like, no one comes in after like 1 o'clock at this point. So they want to get their last ride and then go back they want to go home. So in some of them, they basically want to go in the direction where they're going home. And a lot of them, most likely in this case, are living towards closer to the city or maybe even New Jersey. I'm going in the opposite direction. So I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea. I'm like, all right, but why were they all? He was like, well, did you? I told him basically one of them. He's like, yeah, you shouldn't have really sent the address to them basically because like that shouldn't be the case. I'm like, I don't know, but he was like, whatever. And I was like, so what about you? Like, and he's like, yeah. He said basically he came and he dropped someone off at the airport, and he was like 190 on the queue to pick up a passenger, and so he was at 190, and then it went down to like 60, but he was still at like eventually he was down to 60. To the point where then I came in basically and like he saw my thing and it allocated him or assigned him me. And because of the reason why is I think because like he wasn't penalized and because like if he did reject it, he would be penalized and he'd be thrown back into the queue again, thrown way back into the queue. So I was like, okay. And I asked him, like, so why did you pick me then? Why did you decide not to, like whatever, like why did you decide to go with me at this point? I mean, you see this, you could have just canceled right now because like and I said like, where do you live exactly? He's like, oh, Staten Island. I'm like, so what? I'm sorry, you're going way out of your way to drop me. I was like, yeah, it's no problem. Like I was waiting for quite a while, so I mean, you're going to be my last fare anyway, so I might as well just use you and then go back home at this point. I'm like, okay, I said I appreciate it, thank you so very much for it. But the thing was, is like it pissed me off at that point. I'm like, the 3 drivers basically have that ability to cancel on a person. Especially late at night. So I'm wondering is like if I was a woman, would they have canceled on me? I don't think so, honestly. That's what the other thing is. I think some of these Uber drivers are creepy guys, definitely creeps, and they're going. If they see a woman, they're like, oh yeah, I'll get her. But if it's a guy, oh no, we don't need to go. Like especially if it's going out of the way for them. And so because of that, I tipped this guy considerably, a little bit over 20, more than 20%. Because like, you know what, I thank you for this. I'm going to tip you a little bit more because of the fact that you picked me up and whatever, maybe, and that's it. Thank you so very much for that. At least I think I tipped him because honestly, it was so late at night. I was dead tired. I needed to get some sleep. But anyway, I got to go back and look in the app. I'll probably look in the app and see if I did. If I didn't, I'll definitely do it anyways. For these other fools, specifically, I'm going to call out this guy right now because like since I only have his name, Alice Schur. Yeah, screw you. Anyways. The question is like, should these drivers be permitted to do this? Shouldn't they not be penalized? I mean, the thing is like penalized as in like, you know what? If you're going to cancel on a person, and you're at the airport and you're going to cancel on a person because of the fact that they're going, you should penalize them, be penalized for the fact of your next couple of your next couple of pickups, you're not going to get the preference. You're going to get the lower end tier people. They should get the lower end tier people and pick them up at that point, and you got to rebuild back up to the high tier end people, like the higher rating peoples at that point. And if you reject more, then you therefore don't you're not going to get the system's not going to choose you at that point, honestly. And that's what I think Uber should do, or something. Uber needs to do something at this point to handle this issue, because like the messaging app works well to the point of to message the driver. But the thing is, if the driver is going to ask you for the stuff, and if you refuse to do it, they'll cancel on you anyways as well too, because that's what happened with the other two. So the question is like, what do I do? What is you as a passenger should do if your driver's going to cancel on you, if you're going out, it's out of their way basically. Is it possible maybe give them an estimation of like, hey, this is how long it's going to take to drive. Give the option for the drivers, like, is if this is their last stop, show them where they live or where they're planning to go. So they can get the passenger that goes in that direction as well too, versus having to ask them and all that stuff. Because if you can do that, at least that helps them out as well as as well as the passenger. Granted, the passenger at that point also, if all of them see that it's way out of their way, that they're like, what, I'm not going to do this. And then you as a passenger, don't have that. But you know what? I don't know how to resolve this. That's the only one thing I can think of, honestly. I mean, it's one of those things where it's something hard to determine. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you can penalize the passenger, but you don't penalize the driver. You have to they have to find a way to penalize these drivers considerably if they're going to cancel on people. Because the thing is if this is 2 a.m. or something like that, and it's an emergency, you got to penalize. And at this point, this is why I loved cabs. At least cab drivers, the yellow cabs, would go wherever they want to go to, or car services matter when you call them up at that point. It's like, hey, I need a car service, blah, from here to there, and that'd be great. So that's one of the things where if these Uber drivers are trying to do this, I mean, honestly, this is why I don't show any love to them. This is why I don't show any love to them. I've seen some Uber drivers that were super, super into Uber. They were loyal to the T, and they don't get rewarded. I see them so loyal to the point I was like, well, why don't you do Lyft or these other things? At the time, there was Meal and all that stuff. I'm like, no, I only Uber and only Uber. And I'm like, I am surprised that Uber has not rewarded them. For these loyal drivers, that they have never, ever been rewarded. Because I remember there was this one guy, I even have a video, I think it's on my YouTube, one of my other YouTube channels. I showed him basically, I was like, hey, man, why don't you ever do it? And he's like, no. And I followed up with them one day, I think a year later, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going with Uber? Have they helped you in any ways or any shape or form?" He's like, "No, I mean, but the thing is, he didn't mind because he loved driving and he loved interacting with the passengers. But the thing is the fact that Uber's not rewarding some of these excellent drivers. I even put on the comment section for them when rating this driver, I was like, this is the best driver you guys have. You need to reward him, do something for this guy. And they chose not to. But yeah, all these other guys that are gaming the system, they're getting rewarded. This is why I'm not a huge fan of Uber or some of these ride sharing programs, honestly. So I'm not sure what to do exactly. I wish I could say that Uber is good. It's good to the point it helps out in the short term. But at the same time, if this is how it's going to keep going, basically, and eventually all these drivers are like, we need more pay, we need more rates and all that stuff. The fact that they're bitching about, it's gone to a rant of they're bitching about hey, you're taking a huge share of my, percentage of my, thing. You're getting 80%, while I'm only getting 20%. Well, you know what? You signed up for freaking Uber. If you're not too happy with it, go with someone else then at that point. I mean, honestly, it's your own problem at that point. It's not Uber's problem. Don't be bitching about something like they're taking the rate because you saw how good they are. You're taking it. Don't be bitching about it. So that's the thing. It's the same thing with Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, the Meta properties. People are bitching about the fact that are screaming about the fact that oh, they shouldn't be doing this with my data. Well, you know what? You're getting it for free, so you should be allowed to do it. If you don't want to use it, if you have an issue with that, then don't use it. Like me, I don't use their platform. I knew what they were doing. They were selling my data. I'm not getting a piece of it. I was like, all right, I'm done with it at that point. I was all cool with them, doing the targeted advertising and everything like that, and that's it. So, and I was cool with it because it's targeted advertising. I was like, I understand this is how it goes because without it, we would have to pay for this service, and I don't want to pay for the service. That's why you want it for free. I mean, they got to make money somehow. But the thing is, at the same time, they don't need to sell my data and then not give me a piece of it. That's the one thing that I would love to have known at that point. Same thing with Google, Twitter, etc. Basically, if there's like, that's one thing I'm not sure about, like what Elon Musk is doing. I mean, if Elon Musk is going to be selling harvest my data and sell it off, I'm going to be a little angry about that. I don't know if they do that. It seems like they're not doing that, but it might be a different story. I don't know. But at the same time, like I said with Uber, if the drivers have a complaint about Uber, like about, the rates and all that stuff, then don't be part of Uber. And I'm sorry, like they're the only ones out there, but you know what? You might as well then go with Lyft or go with any other programs at that point. You don't be bitching about it like, oh, they're taking you're taking away my money and all that stuff. You joined it. You did it. It's on you at this point. You just got to go with the program at that point. Honestly, it's one of those things where this is where I'm lying a little bit on the side of Uber, and like Uber needs to like take these guys out and, penalize these drivers. There has to be a way to penalize these drivers. Not kick them out, but at least penalize them to the point you can't gamify the system for your benefit. I mean, I understand if you find a flaw, go for it. Work it. Do it. But at the same time, if you're going to take it at the expense of the passenger, then no. That's where the thing is I'm a little pissed off about, basically. And so it's one of those things where there's got to be some way that they penalize them. The thing is, there was no way I could actually, for these drivers that canceled on me, there was literally no way for me to basically say anything to Uber. There's no way. There's once they canceled on me, I'm like, I can't go back. It's like, what the hell? I'm like, report Uber to report Uber about this driver. There's nothing in that app. They should give that ability as well to Uber gives you the ability to rate your driver as well as comment about your driver once they picked you up and all that stuff. And, once you paid. But in this case, if you're not even paid and they cancel on you, this is the thing where that's what pisses me off a little bit, that there's no way to rate them once they choose you at that point. Because sometimes they'll just cancel on you. And it's not only this time. There was a time where I also I was trying to go to the airport. The driver was 10 minutes away. And I'm like, okay, I should make it on time. Next thing I know, he's 5 minutes away and then he cancels on me. I'm like, what the fudge in hell happened? No notification, no nothing. I had no idea what happened. And because of that, I was waiting for the next Uber driver, and the next Uber driver is 30 minutes away. Had I known that, I would have canceled them and gone with Lyft at that point, honestly. That was the thing. And there was no way to cancel, notify the guys, hey, what happened? If he says, oh, it's in a family emergency, understandable. But this guy, probably just found someone much better and then canceled on me at that point. And I got pissed off about that as well, too. So, there was no way for me to rate that driver. There's no way to, not rate it, but there was no way to at least notify Uber about the driver about this. It's only when you pick you up, it's then you have the ability. They should give that passenger or the potential user the ability to at least notify about these drivers that are canceling on them for no apparent reason. They should give that ability, but they don't. And I don't understand why that is. If they do, I don't see it on the app. Someone's got to, show it to me and explain to me or demonstrate it to me, because I have yet to see it at that point, to be quite honest with you. But I don't know. You as a user of Uber, let me know, is there ability to outside of calling him out on Twitter? I did that a couple times. It to no avail. It was a failure. It was a bust. So there's no purpose of doing that. Same thing with Lyft as well too. I don't think Lyft gives you that ability either too. There have been cases where some Lyft drivers have canceled on me, and they haven't said anything. And I can't comment, or not more comment, but notify or say anything about that driver that canceled on me until once they pick me up. Can I say anything about it? Outside of the cancel before pickup, then there's not much else I can do at that point. So that's one of the things where both Lyft and Uber need to apply that that model. And for the TLCs out there, the taxi limousine services companies that are out there in LA, San Francisco, New York, and all that stuff. You know what? If you have a problem with Uber and Lyft, create your own. It's not that hard. You can create your own. It's not that hard. I know you're making money through the medallion. You might as well just go into this other system. And what happens is you can force Uber to drop the prices as well at the same time. Honestly, you could also, give a little bit more back to your taxi drivers or drivers themselves too. It's these yellow cab drivers. It's they paid millions of dollars for the money for the medallions. Some of them mortgaged off whatever, and they can't get any money, and they're not allowed to do Uber or Lyft or any of these, driver economy, basically, these rideshare programs, because they're part of the taxi cab, the yellow cab, basically, and they can't do it because they paid for this medallion, or they're trying to pay off for this medallion that they have so that they can then be on their own at that point. And that's one of the things where it was great how Uber and Lyft disrupted them to do this, but at the same time, it's one of those things where these TLC companies, they need to come up with their own thing at that point. Hey, we'll do something immediate at that point as well too. You want to hire drivers, and give them some sort of better benefits some form of benefits outside of Uber, because like Uber's, it's just a gig economy. You're not getting benefits or anything. Like, you're just getting paid on a contract, like a contract basically. So if like these TLC companies offer some sort of benefits or something like that, then you probably see more and more drivers. Once you see more and more drivers coming to you and like they're not on an Uber, then you can like, get more money at that result. There's more revenue streams at that point as well too. I mean, you could also define other revenue streams at this point as well too. But hey, that's different. In any case, I'm not sure how to resolve this issue outside of the fact that it's like, give the user to Uber as well as Lyft, give the user the ability, if they get canceled on by the driver, the ability to notify the company, whether it be Uber or Lyft, via the app, hey, this person canceled on me. Can you follow up and find out why he canceled on me? If they say, oh, it's a family emergency, okay, different story. But if they say like, oh, I just didn't feel like driving, all right, then you didn't have to accept and ruin, the person's expectations at that point as well too, honestly. So there's something that needs to be done about that. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Like, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I do read all my comments, of course. Right now, I know it's live chats going on. I don't see the chats if they're coming through. There's something going on with my OBS. I think I need to upgrade the version or need to mucks around with it a little bit. Also, the other aspect is once it becomes static, meaning going from live to like permanent, you'll be able to comment in there, and then I'll be able to like, message you or reply back to those comments that warrant a reply. And as well as when I get notified as well too. I'll be honest, I don't get notified as much, as quite honestly. So once I get notified, then I'll know. But in any case, with that, if you love my content, love my videos, and love my channel, but haven't subscribed, I ask you to subscribe. If you have subscribed, then thank you for that. And if you don't like my videos, but still want to watch them, I ask also for subscription as well too. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts, comments, feedback in the feedback section. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and in this situation, of course,